under the guidance of Donald Trump, our president, God bless him for this, Nicolás Maduro and his wife were captured in Venezuela and were en route to the United States to face justice. And my initial reaction was, I thought about our America First patriots, what our camp is thinking. But I came to this conclusion in my initial thoughts. There's, in my mind, the world is a better place without one less communist dictatorship in it. There's no doubt in my mind. And I'm starting to get the mental image of the desk and the Steven Crowder desk has just changed my mind. I just cannot get that thought out of my mind. And and the leftists are losing their mind and they're making their point in lockstep uniformity as always. They all sound the same. But I'm going to address the America First camp, my camp, that I know a lot of you are going to feel you're betrayed because we were told no new wars. We were told under my leadership, peace through strength. And we're not going to have nation building. We're not going to have that. And today, even as President Trump made remarks on his press conference, it blew my mind, some of the things that I heard. I was like, what the fuck? But let me address some of the points that I want to make into why it is in our best interest for what happened today happened. Number one, mass migration. We have encountered over the last 3 years a huge migration from Venezuela. Trump, this is not going to be a charity case or we're going to go in there and nation build and get them to think like us. But if we want to do a little bit of history, they were a very rich nation in a Western civilized world. So it's not like we have to convert them from some ideological religion as we have to do in the Middle East to our way of thinking. They're already shared Christianity. We have a lot of shared values with them that the transition could be a whole lot smoother. And I know based on all the immigrants that they sent over here over the last 3 years, you might think, how in the hell are you coming to that conclusion? But communism destroys everything that it fucking touches. Because I see the same thing as a Cuban American. I see people coming from Cuba that I think share the values of my parents, but yet when I start talking to them, it's like a completely different person. But that's a whole nother subject. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because that's not the case right now. But when we talk about the interests of America first, and when we feel that betrayal into like, what the hell are you doing? This is not what we voted for. I'm going to bring up two particular cases that I can think of at the top of my head. And first is the Jocelyn Nongore case that President Trump brought up, but had he not brought it up, I was going to bring it up anyway. And she was a 12-year-old girl here in Texas that was murdered by two Venezuelan immigrants, which were let out by the Biden administration. By the way, I got to point that out. She was strangled and raped and tossed under a bridge by two Venezuelan nationals. It's been reported, I can't confirm, that they were let out of prison in Venezuela and they immigrated over here. Or they had ties to Tren de Aragua, that Venezuelan gang. But I gotta give you an update on that. And I had a video on this, but I wasn't satisfied with how the video came out, so I deleted it. But I'm gonna make a follow-up video of this about the Jocelyn Nongore case. For the ones thinking, oh, that's an isolated case, tell that to her mom. Tell that to her mom that has to live the rest of her life without her. Case number two, and I live here in Texas, but case number two, it was a service member. She was in a lake here in Texas, and some Venezuelan nationals hit her with a jet ski, and she was killed. And they fled. They were eventually captured. I believe Governor Greg Abbott was asking for the death penalty on that case. I'm not sure. I gotta make a follow-up video on these cases. But I'll say this. For the one saying, "Oh, you just cherry picking two isolated cases to make your point, to make your case why we should invade Venezuela," and my opinion on that is that's 2 lives too many. These people should be here. They should not be dead, especially a 12-year-old girl to finish her life in such a brutal. Just think about that for a second. Just a brutal way to end your life for any human being, let alone a 12-year-old girl. Think about that. Let that sink in. Let that marinate. That's 2 lives too many, in my opinion. I'm not backing off that. And I know people are probably going to hammer me on the comments and say, "Oh, you're not America first. You're a sellout. You're just saying that." No. Think about that. Think about that. Dwell on these 2 cases. These are American citizens that were killed. One, a service member. A person that was willing to give their lives for this country. And we can make a broader case about immigration and how Trump sealed the border. There was no need to do that. I understand that. But say if we lose in 28 and we stabilize Venezuela, that's one less country that we got to worry about mass migration to the United States. Because, if they win in 28, they're going to open the fucking floodgates. You know this. You know this. We know this. I know this. I don't know how many times I got to say that to get that through your head. They will open the floodgates. One less country we got to worry about. A lot of people from Venezuela were sent this way. And not a lot of very good people, as Trump points out. Another point that I want to make, and I know that this one, when Trump said that, when they asked him, "So who's going to be in charge of Venezuela while we go to this transition?" He says, "We were." And my fucking head exploded. I was like, what? What did he say? Us? Rubio? Hegseth? My head exploded with that. But when he went on to explain that this isn't some charity, we're going to liberate you for the good of mankind. Yeah, it is for the good of mankind. All that good stuff. But Trump, and before I make my complete point, Trump always said this about Iraq. He said we were in there, and if it was a mistake to get in there, but if we got in there, we should have gotten the oil. Trump is not going to make that mistake. Trump is getting the oil. He said, they asked him, how are we going to pay for this? He said, the oil companies are going to come in. They're going to fix the infrastructure, which is very old, and everything's dilapidated and outdated, and they're going to come in and fix the infrastructure, and we're going to get oil. We're going to benefit. It's going to go to the Venezuelan people, but we're also going to benefit from it. So I'm sure whenever we get to a transition government and elections, and I'm sure they're going to need security, because there's got to be securities guarantees to do business. That's why dangerous places cannot do business. Like in Mexico, you can't, like I live here on the border now, and you can't go, like I can't take any sort of money and invest it because I'm going to be extorted. So if I'm going to be extorted and have minimal profits, I'm just going to pack up my shit up and leave. So there's got to be security guarantees for this to happen. But Trump said, we're going to get the oil. How does that benefit us in the long run? More people producing oil, and I already heard a few economists and investors talking about this. The more supply we have versus the demand, oil prices are gonna plummet. The price of a barrel of oil is gonna fall because you got more people producing than the demand. We have a high demand in this country. More people producing benefits us in the long run. Gas prices will fall. This isn't some charity case like these leftists that want to go and explore transgenderism somewhere in Pakistan or something like that. That this isn't the case. Like some of the crazy funding that has been sent overseas. And I understand the money that was spent on this capturing, because they keep saying it's an invasion. It's not an invasion. They captured a fugitive from American law. He was charged in 2020, and Trump is seeing it through. So this isn't charity. They're going to pay us in black gold. They have a lot of it. They're going to pay us in it. Now, I understand that everything's not going to go according to plan, everything, but think about the initial operation. And let's digress from the America First point that I'm trying to make. He was at a secure compound protected by Cubans and relying on Cuban intelligence, and they came in and they snatched him away like nothing. Thank God, and God's mighty hand was with us. Not a single casualty happened. I don't know on their side if they had any casualties. I'm not sure. It hasn't been reported any casualties on their side. Think about that for a second. If that's a prelude of how things are going to go, then I have faith that everything's going to go right. I have faith in whatever President Trump says he's going to execute will happen. So that's how we get around paying for this campaign. Another thing, who do you want controlling Venezuela? Us or the Chinese or the Russians? How is the Russians and the Chinese having their hands essentially being puppeteers there in our best interest? How is allowing communism to thrive all over South America beneficial for the United States? Essentially, communism was spreading to the Latin American hemisphere. They had it in Honduras, the new historic election that they got over there. Chile voted out their socialists. I believe Bolivia's in the same camp, voted out the socialists. I'm not sure, but it's Colombia and Brazil, the ones that are left. Look what happened with Lula, and that's not. I don't want to get into policing the world. That's not what I'm saying. But the point that I'm trying to stress to people is having a bunch of a bunch of communist satellite countries with communism at the root of their ideology isn't beneficial for the United States. As I know we want to be isolationists. I understand that we can't be turning off fires everywhere in the world. But anybody on the comments, give me a good reason why. Give me a good reason. How is it good for all of South America to be communist? Hell, communism ain't good here. That's why they're all bitching about Venezuela. They're trying to get the entire Western Hemisphere to go communist. Canada is like 80% there. We're about 65% there. I understand your frustration because this feels contradictory. I get it. I agree 100% with all the points that you might bring up. I understand. We don't want to be nation building. And Trump said they're going to do the nation building. Basically, oil is going to pay for all this. And I understand. I have my apprehensions too, because I remember in the campaign in 2015, build a wall. Who's going to pay for the wall? Mexico. But I'll say this. If we're going to blow money on shit, like we've been blowing money on shit, Somali daycares and all this leftist garbage that we've been blowing money on, fuck it. Let's blow money on essentially capturing somebody's oil state and rooting out communism. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but if we're going to blow money, at least let us blow money on something that's going to help us somehow in the long run. Because if we get cheaper gas prices here, just the break I'm going to get on filling my tank, hey, I'm for it. I'm sure some of you might be for that too. So that's my take on the whole America First clash that we're going to have. And I understand it's close to the midterms. What what would the political blowback of this would be? And this is a segue into the Democrats, the socialists, the communists, whatever you want to label them. The bullshit they're in lockstep that they're starting to regurgitate out of their mouths. And as we all knew, they were going to come out and all of them were just going to be parrots repeating the same thing. First thing they're bitching about, and these scumbag communists that we have here in America, the Democrat Party, that Trump violated he attacked a sovereign nation and proceeded to remove the president of that nation. I guarantee you 100%, if this would have been Biden and this would have been some right-wing government like a Pinochet back in the days in Chile, he was a right-wing dictator. If he would have been removed, they all would have been applauding. They all wouldn't have not a fucking thing to say about the sovereignty of a foreign nation. Not one. And this is part of my discontent, for lack of a better word, towards these Democrat socialists. They're so fucking partisan. They're such partisan hacks. Like, I got to get on my knees and suck off communism at any cost. Like here, I just went on the first part of this reaction video about how some on the right are going to criticize this. Not everybody on the right's going to be like, oh yeah, Venezuela, free them. Not everybody's going to be in the same camp. I'm sure Tucker Carlson is going to go off tomorrow. I can't wait to see that. I'm sure he's fixing a fucking blow-ahead gasket. Dave Smith, I know that there's a few coming that are going to hammer down on this. And for the sake of the 26 elections, I really hope they dial down the rhetoric. But I know they're not. But these fucking Democrat socialists, the Democrat Party as a whole, because they don't go out and call out the crazies in their party, they all gonna get on their knees and suck off communism in defending this shit. Oh, it's not about the drugs. It's about regime change and like as if like. If we're going to get into regime change, if the goal, look how ridiculous our point is. If the goal of Trump is to remove socialists from the Western Hemisphere, then he should have just launched, he's there in the Caribbean, he should have just launched on Cuba. Hey, you're fucking going down too. And I know there's a ripple effect to that I forgot to mention on my point when I was making my point to America first in the best interest of the United States. Having a communist satellite state 90 miles from the Key West Coast is not a good idea. But let me digress from that. Strangling Venezuela is going to strangle Cuba because it depends on Venezuelan oil. But let me digress from that point. These people defend at all costs any sort of bullshit that doesn't go against that goes against their ideology. Look at the protected class that they have of people who vote for them. They're defending they're defending daycare fraud in Minnesota. And I saw a meme, and I think I still have it. I'm gonna post it to the side of me. And it said, and it was a picture of Nick Shirley, the guy who's reporting on all the fraud in Minnesota. And he states, for my next trick, I'm gonna get them to defend fraud. And that says it all about these people. They're losing their shit over Trump removing Maduro from power. Now, I guess thinking about it a little bit, if you stabilize a lot of these Latin American countries, you're going to get a lot of their future voters out of their countries. And here's what I'm saying. I know that I don't like to go down this conspiracy of voter fraud and this and that, but think about it from a practical standpoint. If you import a bunch of people here and you want them to vote for you, and you're trying to get them to stay here, and they reproduce, what do you think that generation that they're producing is going to vote for? Right? Does that make any sense? Exactly. So Trump is hitting at that. Another benefit it's a long-term benefit. These countries get stabilized, we reduce mass migration. Who do they rely on to inflate the number of seats they get based on the census, because they count everybody? Through mass migration. You get the point? Long run, just like they did in California, they flooded California, and now California is unwinnable by Republicans. And let me toss this in there. Clinton lost California in 92. Think about that shit for a second. That's unthinkable in today's political landscape. Electoral landscape, rather. So in the long run, the long-term benefits of this, if you take a hit at mass migrations, or one of the root causes that Kamala was the border czar and she was supposed to fix all this, and she traveled to these countries to establish that, socialist policies failed as they've been in Cuba, Venezuela. We all done that, and I know that their offense is going to be that wasn't really communism. That wasn't real socialism. That was corruption. This and that. They're all corrupt 90% of the time. It's human nature for corruption to happen, for power and money to corrupt people. Like as if, I'm a communist, I'm immune to that. Bullshit. It happens everywhere, but more in their system in their financial system. And I know they can say, crony capitalism, this economy is not working for people. Please stop. The poorest people in the United States has a fucking flat screen, an iPhone, a fucking throwaway iPhone that they paid off and is sitting in a drawer somewhere, and a damn PlayStation and air conditioning. And most of them have food, and they're probably overweight and diabetics. So stop. Cut the shit. Now, sorry, I got a little worked up because it's ridiculous. Now, you're taking a hit at that. You're taking a hit at, and you're exposing the failed ideology. You see it fail and fail and fail and fail. And I know these young people here, they're hook, line, and sinker because we have an accountability problem in America. And I'm not saying that every single person that is in debt in America or that is facing some sort of hardship is on them. But a lot of them are. A lot of the credit card debt is because people are living beyond their means. But I don't blame them because our standard of living has been struck down by stupid decisions in Washington. So, but this is a broader topic. This is a broader topic that is going to be discussed at a later date. But these scumbags they're at it again. They're at it again with their invading the sovereign nation, and they're angry. They're angry. How dare Trump does that? And now they're worried about starting no new wars, and now they're coming out. Hakeem Jeffries comparing it to Iraq. All of a sudden, they became archaeologists and historians. They want to dig up the past. And they're such partisan hacks. Don't be fooled by this bullshit they're saying. Let's give it time. Remember, a lot of people said, if we bomb Iran, it's going to be a ripple effect. It's going to cause new wars. Not shit happen. People understand strength. People understand, let me not fuck with this guy because I don't want to die. People understand that. Look what's happening in Iran as we speak. There's protests. People are revolting. People want change over there because they feel, hey, Trump might actually have our backs. He bombed the fuck out of these motherfuckers and he can make them retreat. So my overall message and reaction to this is that freedom won today. Freedom, humanity, dignity won today. And thank God first and foremost and President Trump, and may freedom win around the world. God bless you. Again, Happy New Year. I hope this message finds you in good health and happiness. Welcome to the Conservative Revolt. Like and subscribe. Thank you for your audience. Hey, hit me up in the comments. Even if you hammer me, hit me up. We'll go back and forth. Keep it funny. Keep it funny. But anyway, I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out of here.